Hello and welcome to the next project out here on the farm. Beautiful day. It is going to be hot today. It's going to be in the mid-90s, so we'll try to get as much as we can done this morning before it gets really hot. But our next project, of course, is to put a fence around this place. And so to get started on that fence, we have our fence posts. Now obviously this isn't going to be all the fence posts, right? Lots of fence posts. We're going to be using T-posts for our line posts, but for our corners and bracing and all that stuff, we're going to be using this stuff. This is used oil field, they call it drill stem pipe. It's technically not drill stem. The drill stem is actually bigger stuff. This is technically drill tube, but everybody refers to it as drill stem. It's 2 3/8 inch outer diameter steel 1/4 inch wall pipe, and it's pretty hard stuff. So we'll get some video of cutting it up into lengths. We're going to be using 10-foot lengths for our vertical posts and roughly 8-foot lengths, a little bit less than that, for our horizontals and brace connectors, things like that. And we're going to be using our post driver to put them in the ground. We're going to go around, we're going to get all of our corners and braces up. Then we'll run strings between them to put in our T-posts, and once that's all up, then we'll be putting up barbed wire. But it all starts with these guys right here. In case you're wondering, we did consider other options, things like wood, for example. I already tested out actually putting 5-inch diameter 10-foot wooden posts in the ground with the post driver, and it works great. The only thing is, technically these are stronger, they'll last longer than any kind of wood put in the ground will. And the end result of it, when you compare the price for these versus the cost of doing it with 10-foot wood, they were about the same. So with it being about the same price, I may as well do these. Now of course, like I said, the only difficulty with these is you got to cut them, and that's a whole process in and of itself. But we'll get to it. I haven't done very much with metal myself over time, and I've never really done any welding. And one of the things that we're going to do putting this fence up, we're actually not going to weld it. We're going to use a company out of Oklahoma makes something that they're calling fence bullets. This is not a plug or endorsement. I don't get endorsed by anybody. That would be nice. But we're going to use their fence bullet system to put it together, which is nice because it doesn't require any welding or anything like that. So we can just come out here, throw posts in the ground, cut our horizontals, and put it together. Really nice that we'll be able to do that just out here without getting a welder and a generator and everything else out in the field and such. So to get started though, we first have to figure out where our corners are going to go, and so that's our next task. We're going to start up here around the barn area, and we're going to get our corners put in, and once we get our corners put in, we'll go from there with putting the rest of the fence in the ground. So there's probably going to be a series of videos on this, but this is our inaugural one on the fence project. We have about 1.5 miles total of fence to put in. There's going to be some different areas. Obviously the cleared field is the easy part. We're still kind of determining what we're going to do in the woods, as far as, are we going to go through the woods, are we going to try to make a path through there, or are we just going to go right along the edge of it? Certainly I'd like to make a path through the woods, just because having the cattle be able to get into the shade of the woods when it's real hot out here in the summer would be nice for them. It's about 10 degrees or so cooler in the woods than it is out here in the field when it's real hot like that. So we'll see, but it is a whole bunch of work to clear trees. So I may have somebody come in and clear them. I may try to do some clearing myself, or I may just give up on it and put the fence right against the forest and forget it. So we'll see how we feel when we get there, but like I said, let's get started doing some measuring. That's basically where our fence post is going to be on that end. It's about 30 feet off of the actual lot line on that side. We're going to leave that 30 feet there for trees and stuff to grow, so that we can have a nice view block and a buffer between us and the cotton field next door. So we'll just kind of leave that much space there. We could try to put it all the way on the line, but if we did, we'd end up trying to go through a whole bunch of trees. We'd end up cutting down a whole bunch of stuff to do it. And one of the things we really liked about this piece of property was the fact that it's completely surrounded by trees and you can't really see out of it except at the side where the road is. So it's kind of nice. So we want to keep that. So we're going to come in about 30 feet. That'll give us enough room to have trees and stuff grow there and still be able to get the tractor behind it and mow on both sides of the fence on that side. So hopefully that'll be a good thing for us in the long term. So this here's our post driver. We're going to get our tractor hooked up to it, get the hydraulics hooked up so it's ready to go. Then we'll get out, put some posts in the bucket of the tractor and get moving. Alright, so this is our Shaver HD10 post driver. I've seen a few other videos out on YouTube showing off the Shaver HD8. The Shaver HD10 is just a little bit bigger. It's got a little more powerful stroke. I think the HD8 is about a 30,000 pound stroke. The HD10 is a 70,000 pound stroke, at least that's what it's rated at. The other difference is the HD10 will do 10-foot material. So you can do a 10-foot wooden post, or in my case, a 10-foot piece of steel. So now that we've got it out here, one of the things you want to look out for on this, you want to make sure that your bottom isn't directly on the ground. It should be up because you're going to need to position it. You can buy this with hydraulic positioning as far as angle and attitude control. However, I didn't do that. I went the cheaper way, and I've got just some cranks here to level it out. So we'll get it leveled out first here. So to do that, I'm just going to stick a level right on my side here, and we'll just crank on this guy until we get it level that way, and then we'll put our level this way, and we'll crank on here. So we get it leveled out that way. Alright, so now that we're leveled out, we're nice and straight. A lot easier to post, or to drive I should say, a straight post when the driver itself is straight. Some other good things about this one to note: you've got your hydraulic hookups to the tractor. This line up here, this is your hydraulic feed, so that just goes into one of the remote valves on the tractor. You're going to want that on the plus side remote for the tractor. And then you've got your return down here. This return needs to not go into the return remote. Don't do that. Because by doing that, there's a constriction in the line as far as when it goes back into the return. Here, this dumps right into literally the fill hole for the hydraulic reservoir. So, completely clear return. The reason you want that is, the way this thing operates, it uses some very powerful springs to pull the hammer down to hit things. To raise it up, it uses a hydraulic cylinder. So what that means is when you're pulling down, all of the hydraulic cylinder is compressing and pushing the hydraulic fluid out of the hydraulic cylinder. And you want that to go very quickly so that you don't lose any of your downforce power to the pushing out of hydraulic fluid by it going through some constriction. So that's why it goes right back into the reservoir for the hydraulic fluid. One of the things that I will also say is Shaver makes little adapters depending on what tractor you have. They make adapters that are sized for those hydraulic reservoir openings, and so you just have to look up the part number. You can call them. Their customer service is really, really great. Actually, in this case, they didn't make one specifically for this New Holland PowerStar 120 tractor, and I had a conversation with the guy over text message, and I took a caliper, measured the opening for my hydraulic reservoir, sent it to them, and he literally put one on a lathe and made one for me and sent it to me. I had bought one originally thinking it was the right one, and it didn't fit. He made that one, sent it to me. They didn't charge me anything more for it or anything like that. So props to Shaver for being really good on the customer service side. All right, so we'll get the tractor started up. Obviously we don't have hydraulic power without the tractor running. You won't be able to hear me with the tractor running, so we'll do that all silently, but we'll get the tractor started up, we'll get this thing working, and we'll get this post in the ground. What you'll see I'll do, this thing will go up, we'll need to take the roadblock off. There's a little pin in the bottom that is there to stabilize the post driver as you're moving it around. I don't keep it in for just going from post to post in the field, but when I put the thing away I put it in, and the first time I take it out I got to take it out. So you'll see me take that pin out, and then we'll put the post up, and you'll see me check the level on the post quite a few times as we drive it, and we'll adjust the post driver as we need to try to get it plumb as we go down. But it's not that hard. Let's go. Well, there's our post in the ground. It is 5 feet in the ground, roughly 5 feet out. It's actually 5 feet 2 inches in the ground and 2 inches short of 5 feet out, but either way, it's plenty high for our fence. It's actually higher than we need. We only need 54 inches. If I remember when I measured this, I think it's about 58. So we got plenty of room on the outside here. And it's hard to tell, certainly in video, but man, you can't move that thing if you want to. So again, plenty in the ground. This guy works really well. As you can see, if I was more confident in driving the post straight, it would pound it in 3 or 4 hits, but I go a little slower so that I can try to adjust to try to get it as plumb as I can. And that worked out pretty well. This one's pretty close. I mean, it's off by a tiny bit, but perfectly fine for what we're doing here. Again, this fence needs to hold in cattle. The cattle aren't going to be giving me grades on how plumb the edges are or anything like that, so that's fine. But it works pretty well. We're happy with it. So we got a whole bunch more of these to do. We'll be making more videos in the future of the fence project. This is kind of the inaugural fence project video. But we'll be making many more. We got to put a whole bunch of corners in and then put all the braces and the stuff attached to them. So we'll be able to show you all that stuff too. And hopefully we get some weather that isn't quite so hot and I'm not quite such a sweaty mess in the future. But yeah, that's all there is. Anyway, thanks for watching. Until next time, out here on the farm with the fence project, have a good one.